Hey guys, John from Gaddy's Garage. Today we're going to start making our swing arm for our GS 1100 Pro Street Bike. Lots of parts to machine, jig to set up, and other fun to be had. So stick around and see what we get done. Hey guys, welcome back. Saturday here in the shop. Gonna try and put a little work in on my dad's last bike, getting the swing arm built. I doubt we'll get the whole swing arm built today. It's a pretty involved process, but we're going to start off, well actually we already started off a couple of weeks ago. We made the front pivot. So today we're going to get the legs of the swing arm roughed out, try and get them in the mill and slot them. And we'll just see what all we can get done. We're going to, work with the time we have and get as much done on these swing arm parts as we can. So, as always, thanks for being here. Tom is here.
Good morning.
See if he'll do any work today. What do we think? Not a chance. Okay. And we're going to get out in the shop and try and get something done. Alright guys, so we're going to get started on this swing arm here. First thing we had to do is rough off a couple lengths of 1x2. We're using some 1x2 by 120 wall 6061 tubing. It does have a 1/4 inch radius on the edge just to give it a little bit nicer look than a nice sharp edge on our final swing arm product. So we're fired up the old horizontal bandsaw, got these pieces cut off to length. And then we are going to jump over to the mill where the remainder of the machine work will be done on these legs. So we previously had our rotary table on the mill, so we took that off. We got our standard vise on there, and we're going to go ahead and get this trammed in so we make nice square cuts on all our parts. It takes a couple of minutes. You run the table back and forth and just tap the vise while you're watching your dial. Nothing too crazy, and I'm sure anybody who has a mill knows exactly what I'm talking about. So anyway, we're just going to work on that, getting it dialed in. Once we get that dialed in, we're going to clamp our two pieces of rectangle tubing into the vise and get them squared off on the first edge. So as we finish getting this first end squared up, we're going to go ahead and add a couple of machinist clamps along the length of these two bars. That'll hold them in place while we loosen the vise and flip them end to end without losing our index from our fresh cut. Once we get that done, obviously we'll flip it, square off the other end, and then we have two nice, perfectly machined to length, 40-inch long swing arm legs to get started on the rest of the machine work. Now that we have our pieces cut to length, we're going to go ahead and separate them. We'll clamp the first part in. We're going to edge find both sides, give us our center. Then we're going to add a 3/4 inch end mill, which will be for our axle slots. We're going to run a 3/4 inch axle on this particular setup. So we got our edge, we move in 1 inch, plunge the 3/4 inch in, and cut a 2.5 inch long slot. We'll back it up, drop all the way through to the other side, and cut the second half of the slot. As we do that, we're going to go ahead and add an end stop here, just one of our strapping tools, clamp down to the table. This will let us pull this part out, install our second leg, and reuse all our zeros from our DRO. Just was a little bit faster to do it this way, so we went ahead and did that. You can see here, plunge it in to cut the second slot, and we are moving right along. So we got both slots cut now. We'll go ahead and pop our part out, deburr them using our little whip deburring tool as well as a file. And we will take these and head on over to the swing arm jig. We have a fully adjustable swing arm jig I made in the shop a bunch of years ago. We've used it numerous times over the years for swing arms for all different kinds of stuff, so it works out good being fully adjustable. It just takes a little bit of setup time depending on what kind of swing arm we're building, lengthwise, and what type of bike it's for, what type of wheel we're using, all that good stuff. But having that variability really helps good. So you can see here we're going to change the front uprights on our jig. Laying in between them there is the Swingarm pivot we made in last week or 2 weeks ago's video. So we're going to move these in to get the proper length. And then in just a second when I pick it up, you'll see we have these steel bearing inserts that we use in place of the actual swingarm bearings, being that we don't want to burn those up while we're welding. So I have numerous sizes of these I've made over the years as well. Every time we make something, we save them. I have made a swing arm using these dimensions on the front pivot before, so I had these pre-made. I did have to cut the shoulder down on one of them ever so slightly to adjust for bearing depth, but once we did that, that allowed this to slide in place. Right now it's just a touch wide to fit in the uprights. So we got our bearing reducer modified. Both of them are now fitting in perfectly in the swing arm pivot. I'm going to use a piece of all thread temporarily to hold the pivot in, as my 9/16 cross bolt seems to have gone missing. So got a new one of those on the order for Monday, and I'm just going to throw this all thread in here to hold it in place for now. Not going to be doing any welding today anyway, as we haven't had that much progress made. So once that's in place, we are going to look at starting to fit our rear legs that we just slotted. We'll put the first one in place, check our length, and then use our angle finder to figure out what type of angle bend we're going to need to put, or how many degrees of bend rather we'll need to put on it in order for it to line up with our front pivot. As you can see here, when it's straight at the front, it sticks way to the outside of the swing arm pivot. Reason being is the pivot is a fixed dimension at the width of the front or the rear of the frame, and then we make the back wider to accommodate the width of the rear wheel, tire, brakes, chain and sprocket, and all that good stuff. Also, if you're paying close attention, you notice that the rear swing arm stanchions are off center. The left side is one hole spacing further away from center. This is to allow for the offset of the chain. Normally, if you look at bikes from the back, the left hand or the chain side on most bikes are always a little bit wider than the right hand side. It's just the nature of the design. You still have your wheel in the center, but the frame is a little bit wider since the wheel and hub is normally wider on the chain side. So you see here we're figuring out our angle that we're going to need. This is pretty accurate. You'll see here we thought we needed 20 degrees. Ended up working out to about 26 once I started doing the bending. The reason I like doing it like this is it gets you pretty close to where you need to be. These are all miter cuts. We notch it on the bandsaw and bend it, so you can dial in your bend. We're not using a tubing bender simply because I don't have a tubing bender that will bend this. type of material. If I did, I would do that as opposed to the cut and bend, but I've built dozens of swing arms this way. They all work perfectly, and just a little bit of extra welding. So we got our first cuts in. Gonna lay our angle finder on top of here and see how we did. Looks pretty good, so we'll go ahead and lay this back up against the fixture and take a look at it. Didn't like what I was seeing here. Like I said, I just was a little bit short on the amount of bend, so went ahead and added a little more relief cut and closed the bend up a little bit more, going from 20 degrees to I think 26, could have been 28, drawing a blank at this very moment. Alright guys, that's a wrap for today. We got our legs machined, got our jig set up, and got the one side bent and mitered in, so it's a lot of tedious work building these swing arms, but it's not something you want to rush. We are on to, I think, day number 14 of Tom getting absolutely nothing done. We're going to get a sign in the shop similar to those workplace accident signs, days without an accident, but it'll be days where Tom did nothing. And we'll get a count going. Maybe we'll do a betting pool. Everybody can join in, and we'll see who wins. You can see over here in his natural habitat on the phone.
Looking up motorcycle parts as usual.
Doing nothing.
Got to spend more money.
And that's it. So, generally productive day. It's raining here and nasty, so we're gonna call it a day and get out of here and go lay on the sofa. Tom will be continuing laying on the sofa, but in a sofa instead of the chair.
You have hair.
Who's got hair?
I do.
It's like a skullet.
It's awesome. Well, I mean, just because it starts back here.
Yeah, you got. You know what? Here's what happens.
But I could have a man bun.
You would have a man bun and a 10 head.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of a 4 head,
Oh, yeah.
it's a 10 head.
It's 10,
Yeah. So.
I might let it. What do you think? Should I let it grow out?
No.
Should I do?
No.
Just straight up no.
Just no.
No.
You want to answer, do you not?
I could have long hair like my dad did.
Yeah. Would he have a 10 head?
He doesn't have a 10
I think it was about.
He would have a 10 head if he grew his hair
It's about
long.
like mine.
Yeah.
You don't really have a big forehead, though.
No.
Yeah, because his hair starts at the like in the middle of his head, right here.
Once you start growing long hair,
It
this
falls
never
out.
grows.
Right. It just
This,
yeah.
It's just thin. So it's really
And it makes it look even worse.
It does.
Yeah. So. All right, guys. This has been your grooming minute at Gaddy's Garage. We're out of here. Hope to see you guys next time at Gaddy's Garage.